This is the unique and beautiful sound of sacred harp, a form of shape note singing which is over 200 years old. Shape note has seen a recent revival in Cork and abroad. Here are some local Cork singers to tell you a bit about what shape note is.
Shape note is a form of musical notation, and to kind of briefly describe it, it's designed to teach people with no prior musical knowledge how to read music and how to sing. So it's called shape note because the notes arranged in a scale have different shapes and different names corresponding to those shapes. So in sacred harp music there are 4 shapes, but there are different traditions with different numbers of shapes, and you learn what shape corresponds to what name, and then when you're reading a piece of musical notation you just say the names of the shapes, and that will give you kind of relative place on the scale, so you don't need to know notes or anything like that in order to teach yourself to sing. And then sacred harp is a form of shape note singing. The first sacred harp book was a compilation of songs in the shape note style, first published in 1844, originating in the South in America, and would have spread across America, would have kind of died down a bit, come back, moved to Europe, being kind of all over the place, mostly as a practice of singing, but originally from kind of a devotional background.
It's not just how they sing that makes sacred harp unique, but how they sit.
You'd often hear sacred harp singers referring to the hollow square, which is what they would just call how sacred harp singing is structured, I suppose. So it's 4-part harmony, and then it's arranged in 4 parts. So the largest part is normally the tenor section. To the left of the tenor section you would have the bass section, which would be low range men. Opposite the tenor section would be the alto section, which is low range female, and then to the right you have the treble, which would be high range men and women. So everybody's facing each other. There's no conductor. You'd have, for each song, you'd have a different leader, so somebody would choose a song from the book, and they're the conductor for that song, but they're leading the class, and they would traditionally face the tenor section. The tenor section then would mimic whatever the person leading the song is doing. By the tenor section doing that, somebody saying the alto section can see what's going on, can see what the leader wants the group or the class to be doing.
The Cork Sacred Harp singing community meet most Thursday nights, but how and why did they get involved in the shape note tradition?
And it's a system that was devised a couple of 100 years ago to help people to sight sing really easily, and it's a really good system. It actually really works, because I read music but I was always really bad at sight reading. I used to rely on my ear, but now I can sight read. It's amazing. It had originally started in UCC as a lady called Juniper Hill arrived off from the States as a lecturer, and she had it as a class as part of the music degree course. So they kind of did that as part of their course, but then they absolutely loved it and wanted to set up a community singing, so that's how it started in the community.
First heard about it, it was being taught as a class in the music department in UCC, but the class was open to non-music students to go along, or even people who weren't part of the college to go along. So some friends of mine were taking that class and had just remarked that the music is quite powerful, like sounds very interesting. It's also an easy way to teach yourself to sing, which is something I was interested in doing, and just thought it's a lot of fun, and that's how I started. I found it was definitely an easy way of learning how to sing. Like, I had no musical training, I'm self-taught in music, so it was an easy way to teach myself slightly more about music and to train my voice to sing as well.
I guess I always kind of wanted to be able to sing, and I never could, and it was a very easy way to learn how to sing. But also the music, some of the songs just really, I don't know really I was kind of dumbfounded by it. I'd never really heard anything like it, and also the music itself is very interesting, and there was a really nice group of people, and for someone who had just moved to a city and didn't have a huge amount of friends in the city, that was a really nice thing to kind of start being a part of as well. So learning how to sing, the actual music itself, and the community side of it.
Sacred Harp is not just about music, but community.
It's always spoken about, the part of the tradition is that it's kind of, if you sing Sacred Harp, you're part of this community of people, and everyone kind of cares about each other and takes care of one another in that community. So a big part of Sacred Harp singing, if you're kind of practicing it as the tradition dictates, is that you host events where you invite people to come and sing with you. So we have 2 events in Cork. We have an all-day singing, which is, as it sounds, 1 full day of singing, about 10 to about 4 o'clock. And we have a convention every year, and a convention is 2 full days of singing, various events either side of it, kind of maybe singing schools and socials where we go to a pub and maybe play other music and get to know one another. But the whole point of all of that is that there's a social aspect to it, and there's an understanding with singing this music that if you're a practitioner, if you take part in the tradition of singing the music, you're almost like kind of part of this extended family.
Sacred Harp singing is all inclusive. If somebody new comes, you do your absolute best to make them feel welcome, and nobody cares if you can or can't sing. With the kind of advent of Sacred Harp in Europe as well, it's becoming a real global community. Like tomorrow I'm going to Bristol in England to stay with one of my best friends who moved there about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. She chose to move to Bristol because of the Sacred Harp community there that she'd become quite close with. I've been, all over Europe, and I've been in America singing it, and everywhere I go I've known people, which is pretty cool.
The tradition has lasted over 200 years, and these singers believe it could last 200 more.
I think musically it's a lot of fun. It's a very addictive thing to do, and it's a very exciting kind of music to be around. Even just being in the same room as people doing it is pretty exciting and pretty unique and kind of intense. So I think people like that. Often people from other musical backgrounds, and maybe kind of specifically in some ways broadly intense, or maybe emotionally intense, maybe sonically intense. People